The fall of a forgotten world for centuries. Earth had been nothing more than a footnote in the vast galaxy. It was once a thriving world, full of life, creativity, and hope. But now, it was a broken, forgotten world, enslaved by alien empires, who saw it as nothing more than a resource. The people of Earth had been crushed under the weight of oppression, their cities destroyed, their culture erased, and their voices silenced. To the Galactic Empire's Earth was a symbol of weakness, a world that had no future, and humanity was just another conquered species. The universe had long moved on, with its mighty empires expanding, growing, and ruling over lesser worlds. Earth had been forgotten, relegated to a distant corner of space, where it lay hidden beneath the shadow of its captors. No one remembered Earth's true history, no one remembered the strength of its people, and no one remembered the power that had once been forged on its surface. The alien species that dominated the galaxy thought Earth had nothing left to offer, nothing left to give, but they were wrong. Deep beneath the ruins of Earth's ancient cities, hidden in a place where no one dared to venture, something ancient and powerful stirred. The history of Earth had been buried by time, but there were some things that could never be erased. In a forgotten underground chamber, untouched by the chaos that had ravaged the planet, an ancient device lay dormant. This device, unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen, was the last remnant of Earth's lost power. It had been hidden away by the last defenders of Earth, a group who had vanished long before the planet fell into its dark age. The device was a weapon, one that had the power to awaken a force so great it could change the course of the galaxy. For centuries it had waited, hidden from the eyes of the conquerors, waiting for the right moment to reawaken. That moment had come, and no one, not even the powerful alien empires, could have predicted what was about to unfold in the silence. Of the ruins, a young historian named Ethan Richards stumbled upon the device. Ethan had always been fascinated by Earth's past. He had grown up hearing stories of a time when humanity was proud, strong, and free. He had read ancient texts, studied old records, and uncovered secrets that many thought were lost forever. But nothing he had ever discovered could have prepared him for what he was about to find. When Ethan activated the device, the ground beneath him trembled. It was as though the earth itself was waking up from a long, deep slumber. The air grew heavy with a strange energy, and a deep hum filled the chamber, vibrating through Ethan's very bones. He knew that what he had found was no ordinary relic. This was something far more powerful than anything he could have imagined. The device began to glow, its ancient markings illuminating the darkness of the chamber. A voice ancient and unfamiliar echoed in Ethan's mind. It was a warning, but it was also a command. The voice told him that Earth had been forgotten for too long, and that it was time for humanity to rise again. But this time they would not rise as the oppressed. This time they would rise as the conquerors. The voice told Ethan that the power to reclaim Earth's honor had always been within them. The time for revenge had arrived. As the device's energy surged, the ground cracked open, revealing long-buried structures and technologies that had been hidden away for centuries. The relic was not just a weapon, it was a key to unlocking humanity's greatest potential. It had the power to awaken the ancient warships that had once defended Earth. These warships, lost to time and legend, were now ready to fight once again. Ethan stood in awe, his mind racing. He realized the magnitude of what he had just unleashed. Earth's enemies, who had thought they had crushed humanity forever, had no idea what was coming for them. Ethan understood now that the fate of Earth, and perhaps the entire galaxy, was about to change. And it would not be the peaceful change that the alien empires had hoped for. The message from the relic was clear. Earth was not finished. Humanity was not weak. And now humanity would answer the call. The enemies who had once laughed at Earth's plight would soon feel the wrath of a power they could never have imagined. The relic had given them the means to fight back, but it had also awakened something far more dangerous than anyone could have predicted. Across the galaxy, alien ships patrolled the stars, unaware of the danger that was quietly growing on a forgotten world. The empire of the Korgath, the most powerful species in the galaxy, had long seen humanity as nothing more than a memory. They ruled the stars with an iron fist, crushing any species that dared challenge them. But the Korgath were not prepared for what was coming. In the command center of their fleet, General Khazar, the ruthless leader of the Korgath Empire, gazed out at the stars. He was aware of the ancient legends that spoke of Earth, but he had always dismissed them as mere stories, nothing more than myth. The Korgoth had crushed Earth's defenses centuries ago, and humanity had been silenced. But there was a growing sense of unease among his officers. Strange reports were coming in from the far reaches of the galaxy, whispers of a signal, something old, something powerful. But General Khazar brushed them off. He was about to regret that decision. Back on Earth, the relic's energy continued to surge, sending a signal into deep space, a signal that would soon reach the ears of those who had long forgotten humanity. Earth had been quiet for too long, but the silence was about to end. Humanity would rise, and the galaxy would tremble. Ethan watched in awe as the ancient warships slowly came to life. The forgotten defenders of Earth were awake, and they were ready to fight. Asterisk, a galaxy of shadows, across the galaxy. The great empires of the universe were blissfully unaware of the sleeping giant that was Earth. The Korgoth Empire, with its vast, sprawling fleets, ruled with unchecked power, and their commanders sat high in their ivory towers, looking down on all other species. They believed Earth was nothing more than a relic of the past, a world they had long since forgotten. But all that was about to change. Deep within the ancient warships, a quiet hum resonated as their systems powered up. These were no ordinary ships, these were Earth's final weapons, a forgotten legacy of a time when humanity was not oppressed, but a force to be reckoned with. They were equipped with technology so advanced that it seemed to defy logic. But this was no longer just a relic of Earth's past. It was the future, and it was waking up. In the darkened command center of the Korgoth flagship, General Khazar stared at the star maps in front of him. His advisors spoke in hushed tones, recounting the strange signals coming from a distant corner of space, but he was unimpressed. He had heard of Earth's fall from power, the stories about its defiance. In the distant past were just that, stories, legends. In the present, they had no power. They were nothing more than a memory. But Khazar was not blind to the threats around him. Across the galaxy, whispers of a new power were circulating. Ships had vanished without a trace. Entire colonies had been destroyed in seconds, and strange, unidentified craft were being sighted near the borders of galactic space. No one could identify them. No one knew where they came from. But every piece of evidence pointed toward one possibility. Earth had awakened. The galaxy's great powers, each ruling their territories with fear and brutality, had grown complacent. The Korgath, the Valdeans, the Joran, all of them believed that the power of their weapons and armies would keep the galaxy in check. But they had overlooked one simple truth. Humans had always survived against the odds. No matter how many times they were pushed down, they always came back. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Ethan Richards was learning that he had not just found a weapon. He had found a force that was capable of rewriting the future of the entire galaxy. The ancient warships were more than just machines of destruction. They were alive with a consciousness that reached beyond the physical world. The voice that had spoken to him through the relic now echoed in his mind, filling him with a sense of purpose and a chilling realization. Humanity had been chosen to bring balance to the galaxy. Ethan had always believed in the power of human potential, but this was something else entirely. This wasn't just about fighting back against oppression, was about taking control of their destiny. It was about making sure that Earth's legacy would not be forgotten, that humanity would stand tall once again among the stars. And to do that, they would need more than just power. They would need to act with precision, intelligence, and unity. As the ancient warships began to take flight, Earth's first move was subtle. Ethan, now the reluctant commander of a force that could change the course of the galaxy, had no interest in immediate conquest. He understood that warships of such power couldn't simply reveal themselves to the universe without consequences. The time to strike would come, but first, Earth needed to gather information. They needed to understand what they were up against. Ethan and a small group of experts, including scientists and former military officers, worked tirelessly to decrypt the data from the relic. What they found was both terrifying and enlightening. The ancient warships, while vastly powerful, were only a part of something much larger. The relic had not just unlocked the ships, it had awakened an entire network of hidden weapons and technologies, buried deep beneath Earth's surface. These weapons were not just physical tools of war. Some were capable of influencing entire star systems. Some could even manipulate time itself. The Korgoth Empire, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing on Earth, continued to monitor their space colonies and borders. But within their intelligence network, a troubling anomaly had emerged. Some of their scouts, who had ventured too close to Earth's orbit, had vanished without a trace. Reports of ships going dark, their last transmissions filled with confusion and fear, reached Khazar's ears. The Korgoth did not understand what was happening, but they knew that something had changed. Khazar called his top advisors into a meeting. His mind raced as he considered the possibilities. Was Earth somehow involved? And if so, how could they have gained such power? He knew that the galaxy had its share of mysteries, but this was something different. Earth had always been considered insignificant. Its people were weak, their technology primitive, and yet now they were more than a distant memory. They were a threat. Across the galaxy, similar thoughts were beginning to take hold. The Valdeans, the Joran, and other powerful factions began to receive word of the strange happenings near Earth's territory. They saw the sudden disappearance of entire fleets, the unexplained destruction of colonies, and they began to fear the one thing that had been absent from their calculations for centuries. Earth, at the same time, the fleet of Earth's ancient warships continued to grow. Each ship was unique, a testament to the skill and ingenuity of the human race. The warships weren't just machines, they were living weapons, pulsing with energy and intelligence. They had been designed to fight in ways the galaxy had never seen before, to destroy in ways that even the most advanced alien forces could never comprehend. Ethan knew that Earth's enemies were closing in, but he also knew that the moment of retaliation was drawing closer. The galaxy had underestimated humanity for far too long. They had backed Earth into a corner, enslaved its people, and wiped out its history. But now, Earth would show them the true cost of their arrogance. And when the time came, when the warships were unleashed in full force, the galaxy would know that Earth had risen from the ashes, and no one, not even the mightiest of empires, would be able to stop them. The unleashing of humanity's galaxy had been silent for so long, but the silence was about to break. Earth had suffered under the weight of alien oppression for centuries, its people crushed beneath the boots of those who thought themselves untouchable. But that silence was the calm before the storm, and it was now coming to an end. The ancient warships, hidden for so long, had awakened, and their fury would be felt across the stars. Ethan Richards, now reluctantly thrust into the role of humanity's protector, stood at the helm of Earth's first true fleet in centuries. The warships, powered by technologies forgotten by the galaxy, hummed to life. These ships were not just machines, they were alive with energy and purpose. They were humanity's final hope, the only remnants of Earth's forgotten strength, and they were ready to unleash their power on those who had dared to mock Earth. The first strike was swift. A Korgoth convoy, massive and imposing, cruised through the outer rim of Earth's star system. They were transporting vital resources from the planets they had enslaved, oblivious to the danger that lay ahead. The Korgoth had believed Earth was no longer a threat, and they had learned nothing from their previous mistakes. But they would soon learn. Without warning, a fleet of ships, the likes of which no one had seen in centuries, appeared from the darkness of space. Their sleek, deadly forms glinted under the light of distant stars. The Korgoth fleet's scanners failed to register them until it was far too late. Before they could react, the first ship launched its payload, an energy beam so powerful it tore through the Korgoth flagship with ease, disintegrating it in a single, blinding flash. The Korgoth fleet, now fully aware of the threat they faced, attempted to retaliate, but it was futile. The warships had already moved, and another ship launched a devastating counterattack. Ethan watched the carnage unfold on the screens in front of him. There was no joy in this, no sense of triumph. He had not wanted this, he had not wanted to become the leader of a war. But the galaxy had forced his hand. It had taken everything from humanity, and now Earth would take back what was rightfully theirs. The Korgoth had believed they could extinguish humanity's flame, but they had only awakened a fire that would consume them all. The rest of the Korgoth fleet scattered in panic, but it was too late. One by one, they fell under the onslaught of the warships. Earth's enemies had underestimated humanity's ability to fight, to adapt, and to overcome. For years, they had kept humanity in chains, but they had never understood the true strength that lay within Earth's people, the strength that came from surviving, from enduring, from fighting back when everything seemed lost. As the last of the Korgoth ships fell, a message was sent across the stars, a message that would echo in every corner of the galaxy. Earth was no longer a broken world. Earth was no longer a slave. Earth had risen, and its wrath would be felt by anyone who dared to challenge it. The news of the Korgoth fleet's destruction spread like wildfire. Empires across the galaxy, who had long ignored Earth's existence, now paid attention. The Valdians, a race known for their ruthless tactics, immediately began to prepare for what they feared was coming. The Joran, with their enormous war machines, grew wary. The Braxians, known for their merciless approach to conquest, saw the destruction of the Korgoth fleet as a challenge to their own dominance. The Korgoth were the first to fall, but they would not be the last. In the war rooms of the Galactic Council, a meeting was called. The representatives of the most powerful species in the galaxy gathered to discuss the new threat that had emerged from the ashes of Earth. General Kazar, humiliated by the destruction of his fleet, stood before the council, his voice trembling with rage and disbelief. "They cannot be allowed to survive," he growled, his eyes blazing with fury. "We will crush them before they grow any stronger." But the council members were divided. Some believed Earth's fleet was an isolated event, a freak occurrence that would fade once the galaxy's powerhouses responded. Others saw the destruction of the Korgath fleet as a clear signal that Earth was no longer the weak, conquered world it had once been. The debate raged on. But one thing was certain: Earth's message had been heard. Back on Earth, Ethan and his small team of commanders watched the galaxy's response with a mixture of anticipation and dread. The Korgoth had fallen, but that victory had come at a heavy cost. The galaxy's most powerful factions were now preparing for war, and Earth was a target. But that was the price of rebellion. It had always been this way. As Earth's fleet continued to patrol its newfound territory, Ethan knew that the galaxy would soon come for them. The alien empires would not allow a single world to defy their rule without consequences. But what they didn't realize was that Earth had something they didn't: the will to fight. The battle had only just begun. The warships, now fully operational, were no longer just tools of destruction. They were symbols of humanity's refusal to be controlled. They carried within them the power of generations, of those who had suffered and fought for their survival. And now that power would be unleashed in ways no empire could predict. As Earth's enemies rallied, Earth prepared for the next phase of the war. The first strike had been a warning, a reminder that the galaxy's mightiest powers were not as invincible as they thought. And soon, the entire galaxy would understand what it meant to stand against Earth. The Korgath had learned the hard way. The other empires would learn too. Humanity was not finished, and its vengeance had only just begun. The price of defiance. The universe had never seen anything like this before. Earth's wrath, ignited by centuries of oppression, was spreading like wildfire across the galaxy. The Korgath, who once believed they had crushed humanity into oblivion, were now reduced to scattered remnants, their once mighty empire broken. But their defeat had only marked the beginning. As the galaxy watched in stunned silence, humanity prepared to face the consequences of its defiance. The question now was not whether Earth could survive, but at what cost. Back on Earth, Ethan Richards stood before the massive warship's command center. The colossal ships that had once been buried in the planet's ancient depths were now the backbone of Earth's resurgence. Each ship was a towering monument to humanity's forgotten strength, pulsing with energy and potential. They were alive in ways the galaxy's advanced civilizations couldn't comprehend. Their weapons were beyond the imagination of any empire. Yet, as powerful as these warships were, Ethan couldn't shake the nagging feeling of uncertainty. The victory against the Korgath had been swift, but it was only the first battle in a war that would engulf the entire galaxy. The alien empires that once saw Earth as nothing more than a weak, enslaved planet were now on high alert. The defeat had sent ripples through the fabric of galactic power, and no empire would sit idly by while Earth continued to rise. Earth's fleet had achieved the impossible, but in doing so, they had painted a target on their backs. The galaxy's greatest powers were now united in their fear and determination to destroy this emerging threat. The Valdians, the Joran, the Braxian Zich. One of them had already mobilized their forces, preparing for war. The Council of Empires convened in the shadows, making plans to strike before humanity could solidify its power. Ethan knew that a full-scale war was coming, and it would not be long before Earth was thrust into the heart of it. He understood the gravity of their situation. Their decision they made now would have lasting consequences. Earth's ancient warships were formidable, but the enemy's forces were vast and ruthless. Humanity was not prepared for a full-scale galactic war. Not yet. The ships, though powerful, were not invincible. They would need more than just firepower to win. They would need strategy, alliances, and something even more critical, time. The first few days after the Korgoth defeat were filled with a mix of celebration and anxiety. Earth's leaders, now tasked with guiding their people through this uncertain period, found themselves torn between a desire to push forward and the growing realization of what lay ahead. The Council of Earth's commanders and generals gathered in a hidden bunker beneath the planet's surface, where plans for the next stage of the war were being formed. "We've shaken the galaxy to its core," General Marlowe said, his voice heavy with concern. "But we can't ignore the fact that our enemies are already preparing their retaliation. The Korgoth were just the beginning. We have no allies. Our technology, though advanced, is no match for a galaxy-wide coalition of enemies. They will come for us." Ethan stood in silence, feeling the weight of the general's words. It was true. Earth had no allies. The galaxy's most powerful empires would unite against them, and Earth would be left to fight alone. What's more, the ancient warships, while powerful, required a steady stream of energy to maintain their devastating attacks. If Earth didn't find a way to keep the warships fueled and operational, they would become sitting targets. "We need to find a way to fuel the ships," Ethan said, his voice calm but urgent. "The relic gave us the power, but we'll need more. We need resources, and we need to expand our reach. There are planets out there with what we need, and we must take them. We don't have the luxury of waiting. The enemy will strike when they're ready, and if we're not prepared..." His voice trailed off. The truth was too grim to speak out loud. A map of the galaxy flickered to life on the command center's holographic display, showing the locations of nearby planets and resources that could potentially sustain Earth's war effort. But Ethan knew that every planet they targeted, every resource they seized, would come with a price. Earth had already shown the galaxy its might, and now the galaxy would show Earth the cost of defying its rulers. The first planet Earth set its sights on was Sindar, a barren world on the edge of galactic space. Though uninhabited, it was rich in the rare minerals necessary to power Earth's warships. The decision was made swiftly. A strike force would be sent to claim the planet's resources. The plan was simple: take what they needed and leave no survivors. The Korgoth had done it to humanity for years. Now Earth would do the same. But the moment Earth's fleet entered the Sindar system, they were met with resistance they had not anticipated. A hidden fleet of Joron warships, who had been watching Earth's rise with increasing concern, emerged from the planet's moons. They had known Earth would come for Sindar. They had known Earth would try to expand its power. The Joron were not going to let that happen. The battle that followed was fierce. Earth's warships, though powerful, were not invincible, and the Joran fleet was vast and well-equipped. The battle raged for hours, with both sides suffering heavy losses. But just as it seemed Earth would be pushed back, a surprising twist occurred. A rogue faction of Joron ships, previously loyal to their empire, switched sides, deciding that Earth's cause was just. They joined the fight, turning the tide in humanity's favor in the end. Earth claimed victory, but not without consequences. The Joran fleet, though battered, had inflicted significant damage on Earth's warships. Ethan knew that this would only be the beginning. The galaxy was watching. The cost of defiance had already begun to take its toll, and the universe would never forget the price humanity had paid to rise once again. The real question was not whether Earth could continue the fight, but whether they could survive the consequences of their victory.